In the search end, there's continuity. As the smoke finally emerges from Cowboys owner Jerry Jones's second-floor office window, signaling the decision has been made on the 10th head coach in franchise history, there seems to be an overriding consideration being made. Continuity? Somewhat of a blessing when considering some of the wholesale changes going on in the NFL these days, with teams not only moving on from head coaches, but also general managers. Brian Schottenheimer now the head coach, exactly where they've been heading for the past few days before some flirtations with the notion of veteran head coach Pete Carroll becoming the head coach, and Schottenheimer remaining the real play-calling offensive coordinator. So now the Cowboys merely handing off to the son of late longtime head coach Marty Schottenheimer, having been with the Cowboys for the past 3 seasons, and actually McCarthy's right-hand offensive hand the past 2. And then Will McClay, still the vice president of player personnel, providing continuity in his general manager-like duties with all these NFL front office firings and hirings taking place. The Cowboys continue to make sure Will hasn't jumped ship after all these years, still responsible for assisting Jerry and Stephen Jones, no small blessing with free agency and the next draft approaching, not upsetting the scouting department. So really, no major changes so far, Schottenheimer mostly sustaining an offense Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott has, run for the past 2 years since McCarthy took over from Kellen Moore after his departure in 2023. And compared to other teams, the Cowboys have demonstrated somewhat uncommon continuity at the head coaching position, considering Schotty becoming just the 10th head coach in what now will be the franchise's upcoming 66th season. Look, we know the Cowboys employed just one head coach for their first 29 seasons, of course the Pro Football Hall of Famer Tom Landry, and then 8 head coaches during the 36 years of the Jones ownership reign, the shortest tenures belonging to the 2 years of Chan Gailey, 1998-99, followed by the 3 years of Dave Campo. The other 6 at least 4 seasons. Well, technically 3-1-2 for Wade Phillips, and then the 4 of Barry Switzer and Bill Parcells. Then the 5 of McCarthy and Jimmy Johnson, with Jason Garrett's 9-1-2 the longest since Jerry bought the Cowboys in 1989. This all struck me when reading the Raiders' hiring of Carroll on Friday, and he wouldn't have been a bad idea if the Cowboys had gone that path for a head coach, pairing the 28-year veteran head coach at the Jets, New England, Southern Cal, and Seattle, with Schottenheimer retained as the play-calling offensive coordinator. Carroll becoming the Raiders' 5th head coach since moving from Oakland to Las Vegas in 2020, counting John Gruden, Rich Bisaccia, Josh McDaniels, and Antonio Pierce. But on top of that, the Raiders are on to their 10th head coach since managing general partner Al Davis passed away during the 2011 season, handing off team ownership to son Mark Davis, 10 now in 15 years. And the Raiders' head coach count is 18 since Jones bought the Cowboys in 1989, 12 of those for no more than 2 seasons. So, let's be careful throwing around the term of instability around here, and while the Cowboys and McCarthy could not agree on length of term, at least now, quarterback will not have to learn an entirely new offensive scheme. And then there is McClay. You know, the Cowboys sort of stumbled onto McClay in 2002, when hired with extensive Arena League experience to aid the Cowboys-owned upstart Dallas Desperados, and then head coach Joe Avezzano, the Cowboys' longtime special teams coordinator who knew little about the indoor game. And when Coach Joe moved on, McClay, the defensive coordinator, became the Desperados' highly successful head coach for 5 seasons, all the offseason while working in the Cowboys' scouting department too, as a pro scout. Then, advancing to pro scouting director and director of football research. Will has been the club's VP of player personnel since 2017, his responsibilities growing along with the Cowboys' NFL draft successes over the years. So, look, McClay has been here a minute, you know. And even though he's never owned the GM title, Will has aided with the day-to-day football operations, not only overseeing the draft preparations, but also preparing the Cowboys for veteran free agency. Maybe one of his greatest Skills has been the ability to coordinate the scouting department with the coaching staff, the head coach, and with the front office. Garrett and McCarthy have spent a lot of time with Will over the years. He is GM-like. There has been stability on that side of the building, not usually the norm in the NFL, where for some odd reason having a GM in title is considered by some the panacea for success, or maybe not. Consider this season. 4 teams have moved on from their general managers. The Raiders fired Tom Telesco after 1 season and hired John Spytek, one of Tom Brady's former college teammates. The Titans fired Ran Carthon after 2 seasons and hired Mike Borgonzi. The Jaguars just fired Trent Baalke after 4, and Tampa Bay offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, who initially turned down the Jags head coach job, has changed his mind, now taking the job after Baalke was let go. And the Jets fired Joe Douglas after 6 seasons, along with head coach Robert Saleh mid-season, and since have hired Aaron Glenn as the next head coach and Darren Maugi as the GM. Plus, consider a year ago, Carolina replaced GM Scott Fitterer with Dan Morgan and the Commanders replacing Martin Mayhew with Adam Peters. GMs get fired too, so this notion out there that Jerry Jones hiring a general manager automatically would result annually in the Cowboys winning multiple playoff games is no more than hasty assumption. Remember, these days owners are no longer just buying an expensive toy, they are managing a football team, and any GM hired no longer has carte blanche authority. These guys must answer to someone controlling the salary cap funds. None have an unfettered checking account. And come on, don't think Jerry simply sits in some ivory throne upstairs making personnel decisions without listening to Steven and Will and the head coach and position coaches and taking into advisement what the scouts have to say. Jerry even admits that he does have help. It's one man's final decision, no doubt, but not a one-man show. Jerry does listen. Rhetoric can be misleadingly dangerous. And so here we are, 19 days after the final game of the 2024 season, 11 days after Jerry and Mike split, the smoke finally wafts out of that second-floor window, Schottenheimer becoming the 10th head coach in franchise history, merely moving down the hall to a bigger office. And Will remains in his. Thus, some continuity as the smoke clears.